Greetings, scholars, and welcome to our presentation on the topic of competing demands for your time from Chapter 7, Building a Data Collection Plan, authored by Sagor and Williams and facilitated by Jamila Gibson and
Lorraine Montague
of the University of Georgia.
Okay, in this presentation, we will give you some key points. We will have a discussion about the main points of this chapter, give you a brief recap, and present our references.
Okay, here on slide 3, we are going to look at key points. Number 1, teaching and data collection don't have to compete. In other words, they can go hand in hand. Sagor and Williams argue that these two categories of professional action appear to be in conflict only if one holds a limited view of what qualifies as teaching and what qualifies as data. Historically, direct instruction has been the go-to teaching model, but reliance on this model makes it more difficult to collect data without it becoming too time-consuming. Sagor and Williams put forth teacher as facilitator as an alternative.
Okay, key point number 2, and this is on slide 4. We serve our students and ourselves best when we act as facilitators of student learning, no longer being a sage on the stage, but becoming the guide on the side. All right. According to the text, it says that most of the data collection strategy can occur during the workday while the students are purposefully engaged in an activity on their own. So I know that we're used to being at the front of the class, being, like they say, that stage on the stage, but we need to take a sideline and let the students be responsible for their learning.
All right, so here we have the beginning of our discussion. How to streamline? Well, one way is to use available data, collect data while facilitating learning, and encourage students to self-monitor. You can use available data such as student portfolios, benchmark and unit assessments, rubrics, teacher comments on student work, etc. As far as collecting data, you can notate observations while class is going on, while the students are engaging in what Sagor and Williams call knowledge work. Lastly, you can encourage students to produce metacognitive data. This could include self-assessments, teacher-created rating scales, and the like.
Okay, continuing the discussion on slide 6. Some concerns that teacher may have as a researcher: data collection could mean loss of learning time. Second, cost of time is greater than the teacher is willing to pay. Limited view of what qualifies as data and what qualifies as teaching. And finally, the direct instruction model, as mentioned before, that sage on the stage versus the facilitator model. And many teachers have found that the direct instruction model works well with learners who need consistent and immediate oversight. And these are not our gifted learners. We know that they're, for the most part, self-driven. It is an all-consuming task, leaving teachers with little time and energy for monitoring and assessing and adjusting. So when you're always there doing basically most of the work and not allowing the students to be that learner, be responsible for their learning, we'll find that you probably won't have time, like you said, to do your research because you're doing so much work.
All right, benefits of the facilitator model. There is a shared responsibility and accountability between the teacher and the students. Self-assessment equals improved performance. Transformed data collection. When the teacher becomes, well, the text states that when the teacher becomes the facilitator of learning and the students perform as knowledge workers, they share the responsibility and accountability for the achievement of results. Research shows when learners assess their own progress, they take ownership of and show pride in their work. The authors warn us, though, that shared responsibility transforms the teacher researcher's data collection responsibilities. It doesn't eliminate the responsibility completely.
Okay, one way in which you can assist, according to Sagan Williams, is securing research assistants. Teaching and action research go hand in hand. An example is using a student as a research assistant. So they talk about using student as being your research assistant. And the text actually says that it doesn't eliminate the role of the principal investigator, which is a teacher, but it does transform the work that you have to do and somewhat makes it less, because you're not just the one collecting all the data, but you enlist your student into that role.
Okay, so to sum it all up, we are to be researchers, double dippers, and guides on the side. Of course, this whole course is on action research, so we know what it means to be a researcher. And double dipper actually was not the, I don't know, I felt like killing two birds with one stone was a better metaphor for what we are doing, but it didn't really make for the best graphic, you know, to kill two birds with one stone. So here you go, double dip. Use your class time to facilitate learning and to gather research. And of course, as we've mentioned several times, we are to take the role of guide on the side instead of relying on direct teaching.
So we have two questions for you, and they are, what are some competing demands for your professional time, and how will you successfully balance them as an action researcher? The second question, what is one way you could practice being a guide on the side rather than a sage on the stage?
All right, so that is the end of our presentation. Here is our one reference. Thank you so much for your time. We hope that you found this helpful.
Thank you.